Welcome everyone. Hello. Happy Saturday. It is great to see you all here in school on a Saturday. Hello Parker, hello Cyrus, hello Wes, hello Bit Shepherd, hello Shiko. Thank you for the resub. Hello Aurora. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Yes. Thank you for the stars. But now it is time to begin our lesson portion of the evening. So class, let's begin to learn about food safety. As we start the lesson, you know what we always do? We have a little bit of a breathing exercise. Just 1 minute, just 60 seconds, that's all I ask. We take 3 deep breaths before we start, so we're all ready to learn, ready to have fun. So I want you to follow along. If you've been here before, you know how it goes. If you've not, just sit up nice and straight. Just be comfortable, relax, unclench yourself, unclench your jaw. Pull your shoulders back a few times. Put your feet flat on the floor. And then I want you to take one hand or paw or claw or talon or tentacle or hoof or whatever it is that you have on the end of your limbs and put it over your chest. And then you take the other hand or paw or claw or talon or hoof or whatever it is that you have on the end of your other limb. You put it over your abdomen because we want to feel our abdomen rise and fall and not just our chest. We don't want to breathe from our chest. We want to breathe down deep into the diaphragm where we have more surface area in our lungs and give us more time to absorb the oxygen. We're going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to hold it gently and then breathe out through the mouth. You see the little pink ball going around in a circle? At the top is when you start breathing in, and I'll let you know when. And in the dark green section is where you breathe in. In the white is when you hold it. And in the light green section where you see it now is where you breathe out, nice and slow. So follow along. When the pink ball gets to the top is when we'll start. Just 3 deep breaths. Follow along. Get yourself ready, nice and comfortable. Ready, and breathe in. And hold it. And exhale. Slowly, not all at once, slowly. And breathe in. And hold it. And exhale. One more time. Breathe in. And hold. And exhale. And that's it. That's all I ask. 60 seconds of your time before we start the lesson, because breathing is really important. You'll die if you don't, but also we breathe very rapidly, very shallow in the world today. That rapid, shallow breathing leaves us susceptible to anxiety and stress, raises our blood pressure, our heart rate. We don't give as much oxygen to our brain. And you can do this exercise anytime. You can just take 1 or 2 minutes to take 3, 4, 5 deep breaths. It can help you relax, whether it's before bed or if you're feeling anxious about something. Thank you for following along with our little breathing exercise before the class begins. But now it's time to get to the actual lesson proper. Again, feel free to interrupt me. Don't worry about it. The question is, what is food safety? What is it? Well, the USDA says that food safety refers to the conditions and practices that preserve the quality of food to prevent contamination and foodborne illnesses. So it's just keeping food from getting you sick. It's pretty simple. It's as simple as that. Why is this important? Why are we talking about this? Oh, yeah. Why are we talking about this, Parker? What are we talking about this for? Well, because every year, 1 in 6 people will get sick with some kind of foodborne illness, food poisoning, food contamination. And because out of all those people, 125,000 of them in the US will get so sick, they'll go to the hospital. And of those, 5,000 will have it so serious that they may die. This isn't an unimportant topic. This isn't just a light filler issue. Especially if for those who fall into vulnerable populations, people who have an immunocompromised condition, who are pregnant, people who have food allergies, young people, old people. It's actually a pretty important topic. Now, before we continue, we are just going to discuss some of the very basics here. I'm not going to teach you recipes or what you should buy. I'm going to discuss proper preparation, storage, basic things for the purpose of keeping you and others safe. Empress asks, does the food pyramid or plate following food safety or no? Not so much a food safety thing, more of a nutrition thing. And we've talked about nutrition in the past. I'm sure we'll do another lesson about that in the near future. Oof. We're going to start talking about cooking meats first. Things you may just need a refresher on. A lot you might have heard before. Then we'll move on to produce, and then procedures and practices, and we'll also discuss some food allergies. And we are about to discuss meat. And if you find that topic uncomfortable, I understand. And you should only watch or participate to your capacity. We are going to talk about it though, because it is important. The first, very basic thing we're going to talk about is buying meat. That's the first step. You want to make sure that it's safe and healthy before you even get it into your house. You're buying beef, you want it to be a bright red, not this darkened, sort of grayish, muted color like it's lost its saturation. For pork, you want it to be a nice pink color. You don't want to see this gray, sort of oxidized or any darker areas. For chicken, you want it to be pink. A nice healthy pink, and it should be firm. Shouldn't be soft to the touch. Obviously, the very obvious things that you'll know to look for. Make sure the package is still sealed. And check the expiration date. Like I said, this is just refresher stuff before we continue. I hope you knew this already, but if you didn't, that's what to look for. Then the cooking part. We've all heard this before. We all know that there's certain temperatures you're supposed to cook meat to make sure that it's safe. But if you need a refresher on what those temperatures are, for beef, there's 2 different temperatures. Whether you're cooking ground beef or other forms of beef, like a steak or a roast. For ground beef, you need to cook it to a much higher temperature. Needs to get all the way to 160 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperature. Emperor says, and don't cook anything on hotel and or airplane sinks as well because it's not safe. I've seen that. I've seen the gross viral posts people have made where they've cooked things in like a sink or in a coffee maker. Don't do that. Please, class, do not cook things in a coffee maker or in a sink or whatever. No, no. For those steaks, roasts, other types of beef, minimum of 145 degrees American temperature, Fahrenheit, American. Pork as well also needs to get up to 160 if it's ground, and 145 for the other types, just like with beef. Chicken though, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You got to get it up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, those are internal temperatures, not just on the surface. So you should have a thermometer. you should have a cooking thermometer. If you're cooking meat and you don't have a thermometer, I suggest you get one. There are all different kinds, whatever's going to work for you best, but make sure that you get one. And make sure that that probe gets into the center and the thickest part of the meat. Because you got to get the thickest part up to the minimum temperature to make sure that everything else is to the right temp, to kill everything in there. What about fish? Fish should also be cooked to 145 Fahrenheit. And as it's cooked, it should end up opaque. It shouldn't be sort of translucent. It should be a solid color. It should separate easily. It should sort of shred, sort of fall off the fork. For buying it, if you're buying it fresh, if you're buying it whole, you want to look at the eyes. You want to look at the eyes and make sure that they're clear, shiny. They don't have like a film over them. And they should smell like fish, but it shouldn't be a very strong, overpowering, vinegary odor. If you're buying fish that's pre-cut in fillets, it should be a more uniform color. You shouldn't see like discoloration spots on it. You shouldn't see areas that have darkened. It shouldn't be dried out. If you're buying frozen fish, make sure that it is all frozen solid, of course. You also don't want to see any frost or ice crystals on it. It means that moisture may have gotten in there. Freezing. I'm going to talk about freezing food a few times here. Because I don't like to waste food. I like to freeze it because I don't want to waste money. You can freeze pretty much any kind of meat and make it last a good long while. In some cases, indefinitely. But it does start to lose its quality. It does start to lose flavor. It can taste pretty bad after too long. A little chart here of at what point it starts to taste not so good after freezing. You can freeze most types of beef for up to a year before it loses too much. But ground beef is not going to last quite as long. And yes, indeed, Empress, you can freeze bread, and I will talk about that in just a moment. Most things, though, you can freeze at least 4 to 6 months. That should give you plenty of time. When you are freezing it, though, after it's cooked, you should cool it immediately. Don't wait. Don't let it sit out at room temperature. If you plan on freezing it, freeze it immediately. It can help to divide it up into portions. Cut it up into pieces or divide it up into different smaller packages. It'll freeze faster. And you can use it in portions. When I make chili, when I make my ground beef chili, I do it just like this, where you see these little Ziploc packages. I'll put like 8 ounces in each one and freeze them individually. And I can just take one out and thaw that one at a time. Make sure that they are sealed tightly. I like to put a little label on it. I write what it is and when I froze it so I know how long it's been in there. After you cook something, if you cool it, if you're just planning on cooling it because you're going to eat it, tomorrow, you don't want to freeze it. Again, cool it right away. Put it in a sealed, tight container. And for most of those foods, you'll want to eat it within about 2 days. And it will last pretty decently for about 2 days if your fridge is kept properly cooled under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit. Otherwise, you're not going to eat it within 2 days. Just freeze it. Not worth leaving it in the fridge and letting it go bad. You don't want to reheat something more than 2 or 3 times. And you still need to reheat it to the right temperature. You can't just warm it up. Produce, though, off of the meats. Obviously, you do the things you would normally do when you're buying fruits and veggies. Yeah, keep that food safe paw. Check for any spoiling and damaging, any bruises, any cuts or marks, bruising on the fruit or veggies. It's an opening for bacteria to get in. Food that's in season is going to be better in terms of safety, obviously in price too. But in season food, fruits and veggies, more likely to be safe. If you're buying something that's pre-cut, if it's already chopped up and cut up into a package, make sure that that package is still sealed. Fruits and veggies go bad pretty quickly if exposed to the air. And keep your fruits and vegetables separate. You should not keep them together in the same little box in the fridge. They give off gases that can cause each other to go bad faster. And I get lazy about this sometimes myself, but rinse it. Rinse that fruit and veg off, wash it. I get lazy about that and I just start eating it, but take the 30 seconds and wash it. When storing fruits and vegetables, there are several places you can store them. You don't always have to keep everything in the fridge. Some things are kept best on the countertop at room temperature. Things like peaches and pears, melons, bananas, although bananas are a type of melon, technically. I don't know. I didn't realize that, but bananas are a type of melon, which is weird. Something about how the seeds work. They grow on bunches and whatever. Some things are best left to ripen on the countertop. Cucumbers are also a type of melon, yes, and they're also on here. Some things, though, you want to keep in the fridge. Any type of berries typically goes into the fridge. Peppers, most vegetables, any of the cabbage type veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, those types of things. Beans, corn. As it says here, like I mentioned, you store them, fruits and vegetables, separately because a lot of fruits release a gas as they ripen, as they age, and that gas can spoil other fruits and vegetables. But besides the countertop and the fridge, you can also keep things in the pantry, in a cool, dry pantry. Cyrus mentions that sprouts, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, collard greens, they are all in fact the same species of leaf. There's different variants, different ways that we have bred them, hybridized them. They all come from the same source. But potatoes, onions, garlic, other tubers, sweet potatoes, pumpkins, eggplants, you can keep those in the pantry. Onions, though, you don't, because they produce a pretty strong gas that accelerates spoilage of those things. But, like it says, you can, in fact, freeze them as well. You can freeze fruits and vegetables. You can chop them up and keep them in the freezer. Or just put them in there whole in a sealed package. Berries can be done that way. You'll see berries, obviously, in the market, frozen in bags. And they are still yummy, Scratchy the Bobcat. You're absolutely right. They hold pretty well in the freezer. Like, I don't have a roommate anymore since I got my new house, so when I buy food, I don't eat it all, so I have a bunch left over. I don't want to waste it, so I've been putting a lot more things in the freezer and finding you can put a lot of stuff in the freezer and it stays pretty well. Pretty much any kind of berries, you can do that. And peppers, yes. Yes, Scratchy. Peppers. Broccoli, a lot of green veggies can last in the freezer, which is good because I do like to make salads. But again, I can't eat a whole package of the salads that I make, so I'll freeze some of it. I'm just about to make some pasta salad. I got everything ready to go for tomorrow. I wanted a nice cold meal, I guess. It's too hot lately. I don't want to cook anything in the oven. So I'm going to make a big, healthy, hearty pasta salad tomorrow. Pepperoni, peppers, banana peppers, broccoli, celery, black and green olives. It's going to be great. Specifically for the freezer, again, they can last pretty much indefinitely, but for quality-wise, for taste-wise, most will last up to a year. Some won't last as well for as long. Citrus fruits tend to not last quite the full year, maybe 6 months. You can freeze bananas, but they'll typically only be good for about 3 months. I mean, you can still eat them after that, but probably not going to be as good. Might just want to save those for banana bread. Which, hey, that's perfectly fine too. You can actually freeze tomatoes. They'll last up to 3 months, but they're probably best if you're freezing them when you thaw them out to cook with them. Again, make sure that they're sealed nice and tight. And as I always do, I label them. Freeze them right away though. Freeze them while they're still fresh and ripe. What about canned food though? What about canned food? Oh, we have a Sailor Jupiter. Gosh, she's one of my favorites. Yes, what about canned food? You've seen, you know the phrase, a cool, dry place. All right, well, we know, cool, dry place. It makes sense that you wouldn't want your cans to be kept in a hot place. Why do you think they want you to keep canned food in a dry place? What about canned food do you think makes it best if you keep it in a dry place? This is the first of some questions I'm going to be asking throughout. Yes, indeed, rust. Moist environments can corrode and rust cans. And even if it's only just a small spot of rust, even if it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, if it does get through the lining, even just a small hole, it's like a hole that you can't see. It's like getting a scrape on your knee. It might not seem that bad, but it is a pathway for germs to get in. The moment that germ gets in, this can happen. That you see here on the left side on the bottom. Or if you see a dented can, a small dent, a little, tiny little thing, probably not a big deal. You can eat canned food that way. If you see a big dent like this though, see any kind of sharp points on it? If the dent is bad enough that you see a sharp area, why do you think that might not be good to eat? Or if you know already, why do you think when you see this sort of bulging, when the can is sort of bulging open, like when you freeze a soda and it starts to bulge at the cap, why should you throw away a canned food if the can is bulging or if you see a sharp corner on the dent? You can take a guess. You don't have to be right. There are no stupid questions or stupid answers. I mean, there are, but you don't know what they are until you ask them. Yes, indeed, actually, Scratchy, you're right there. It is about pressure. When you see a sharp point on the can, it means there's a much greater chance that the lining of the can has been broken. The seal has been broken. It's been bent enough that there may be a small crack in there. What happens then, whether you see an issue or not, whether you see a dent, whether you see a hole, pressure builds up in the can. And why does it build up? Because if some kind of organism gets in there, some kind of bacteria, contaminant, that bacteria is going to be eating that food. It's going to be eating whatever's in there, and it's going to be giving off gases. It's going to be giving off waste gases. And that's going to put pressure on the can, and it's going to bulge out. So if you see a bulging can like this, there's no question about whether you should throw it away. If you see a tiny dent and you don't see anything like that, well, it's probably good. If you see your can bulging, get rid of it. You can see this sometimes in packaged condiments like this, like little ketchup packets or mustard packets or mayo packets or whatever. You'll see them where they're like a balloon. They've blown up like a balloon. There's some kind of bacteria in there. It's eating whatever food is in there. Toss it immediately. Don't, jump on it and pop it like we did when we were kids. I don't know if you all did that when you were kids. Stomp on a ketchup packet and squeeze it halfway across the parking lot. Yeah, don't do that. There's bad stuff in there. Toss it. And don't freeze. You cannot freeze them. That's a moist environment. Probably going to rust the can. And once you open it, use that within 2 or 3 days. Absolutely scratchy. Ask whatever questions you've got. The song has just changed to one of my favorites, a remix of Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Do 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 do. Yeah, if you do want to keep your canned food that you've opened any longer than that, make sure it's in a sealed container and keep it cool, under 40 degrees in the fridge. I ask, if you keep a container of pickles in the fridge, how long are they good for if kept with the lid on? Pickles can last a pretty long time because they're already pickled, which is a process to keep things specifically for as long as possible. In many cases, I mean, you can keep that for a year, I believe. I mean, most people say, oh, a couple of months, but honestly, they're fine. Some people will keep them up for up to 2 years, I think. They might not taste as good after that time. The only thing I don't know actually is how well they take to freezing. But I do love pickles. You've had 30-year-old pickles and they tasted just fine? I mean, they should last a good long while because that's the whole point of pickling something. You know, you put it in vinegar and salt to keep it, make it last. Some of these things, like the expiry dates on certain foods, they're a little bit cautious. Foods can last longer than that. Am I allergic to any foods? I am. I am allergic to shellfish, and we'll talk about that at sometime after this. Then we get to dairy. We get to dairy. I love dairy. But I just want to start off with this little caveat here. I'm not going to talk about raw milk anything more than this. Don't drink it. Don't drink raw milk. Don't drink raw milk. There's a big thing going on in the world right now, or at least in the US for some reason. People who think they're being rebellious, I guess. They're drinking raw milk. Oh, and it's more nutritious, blah, blah, blah. It's not. That's a myth. Don't drink raw milk. It can lead to E. coli, salmonella, listeria, all kinds of other problems. Drink pasteurized milk. It's already weird enough that we drink cow milk. We are drinking the breast milk of another animal that we keep in a state of perpetual pregnancy. It's weird enough that we drink animal milk. Raw milk is not good to drink. Make sure it's pasteurized. The question you have, Scratchy, is should ketchup be refrigerated? That's actually a culinary controversy. Some people say you should keep ketchup in the fridge. Some people say that that's sort of a food faux pas. You shouldn't do that. I keep it in the fridge because I like it to be cool. And I keep all of my condiments in the fridge unless I'm storing them for a while and they're not opened. They tend to taste better, I guess, last longer. The ketchup makers themselves say that they should be kept in the fridge once opened. Like, you'll always see that thing on a lot of foods: for best results, refrigerate after opening. That's my take. I keep them in the fridge. And I have a lot of mustards, because mustard is my favorite condiment. I keep Dijon mustard. I keep stone ground mustard. I keep honey mustard. I keep regular yellow mustard. And sometimes horseradish mustard. That is my favorite condiment of all time. But yes, pasteurization. It's good. There shouldn't be anything controversial about it. I've even heard the raw milk people that are all about it, since it is sort of a controversy and it's banned in many places. They want to drink raw milk and they want to sell raw milk. And they say, well, it's safe as long as you boil it. Last, they say it's safe as long as you boil it. They don't seem to understand that that's basically what pasteurization is. You heat it up, you boil it rapidly, and then you cool it. They're self-pasteurizing and then still calling it raw milk. It's like saying, you know, raw beef is safe to eat as long as you cook it first. Sure, yeah, go ahead. If you want to eat raw beef but cook it first, great. You want to drink raw milk but boil it first, cool. You're pasteurizing it. Anyway, I'll get off of that. Don't drink raw milk. Dairy, I think, you know, the most obvious thing is make sure it's not expired. It can last a little bit longer than the expiry date. Again, expiry dates can sometimes be a little bit cautious. Checking the packaging is pretty important, that it's still sealed, that there aren't any tears or rips in the packaging. And don't wait for refrigerating it. Get it in the fridge immediately. I've seen people, they bring their groceries home and they put the groceries on the table and they don't put them away right away. They go do something else. It should not be kept in the danger zone, and we'll talk about the danger zone in a bit. Once you open that package of milk, it'll last about 1 week from opening. Up to 2 weeks if you don't open it, if it's still sealed. Scratchy says that Boches is the Boches is the best stone ground mustard. That's not a brand I've heard of. Coops is the one I typically get here because that's sort of the brand, I suppose. Unless I'm just getting the generic like Food Club, Food Lion. Great value. Bojes. That's how you say it. Bojes. Not bougies. Bojes. Cheese lasts a good long while. Typically, its taste lasts for about 6 months if you keep it in a nice sealed container. Honestly, it can last longer than that. I'm not here to tell you that can't go past 6 months. Yogurt, though, that's one that can go bad pretty quick. Yogurt, you should eat it within 2 weeks. I mean, yogurt is a cultured thing. It will go bad pretty darn quick. Don't eat expired yogurt. Eggs, you can actually last about a month in the fridge, as long as you're keeping them at a good temperature. Butter will last a couple of months. It's pretty stable. But you can also freeze milk. Not everybody knows that you can freeze milk. If you keep it sealed in its original container, and it's got some space to expand in that container, you can keep milk frozen for a couple of months. So if you see a good deal on milk and you're like, oh, milk is like $5 a gallon usually, it's like $2 on sale, you can still get it, and you can freeze it and keep it for a little bit longer. Hello, Ender King. Great to see you here. Great to have you. Still in the first sort of quarter of our food safety lesson before we get into Minecraft. If you wrap up that cheese nice and tight in plastic or a foil type container, you can keep that cheese frozen for an additional 6 months. You can do the same with butter for the same length of time. If you want to freeze yogurt or some kind of cream, it's probably best if you just do that for cooking. And that'll last you about 2 more months. Scratchy asked if margarine or butter can be left out, not refrigerated. Not for too long. I know my grandparents used to keep butter in like a little butter container out on the table. That is okay for a couple of days. It does start to turn in terms of taste. It will turn on you. It will go off in a couple of days. Ender King, you took a job in the... You took culinary in Job Corps. Yes. I'm just trying to impart just some of the basics because not everybody knows this stuff, you know? Some people are taught it in home ec, some people are not. I think that food safety should be taught in health since health is a required course and often home ec in schools is an elective. When you're thawing any of these frozen things though, thaw them in the fridge. Don't thaw them at room temperature. It can take a couple of hours. It can take overnight. After you thaw it, after you've thawed out some kind of dairy that you've previously frozen, you'll want to use it within a week. Grains. Bread. Can you freeze bread? You absolutely can freeze bread. Off the bat though, I want to say you can freeze bread and you should rinse your rice. White rice. You don't necessarily need to wash or rinse other types of rice, but it's good to rinse your white rice. Not just because it can make it safer. There are some concerns about heavy metals. But also it helps the quality. Washing your rice can help to remove excess starch, which helps your rice be a nice bit fluffier. A little bit fluffier. It doesn't... Scratchy say, your family always kept country crock spread on the counter. Lasts at least a week or so. Doesn't seem to change for you. Not a problem at all. Don't worry about it. Always ask questions. Always bring up your comments. Happy to hear them. Answer if I can. And yeah, that was what my grandparents always did. They would keep a little stick of butter on a little tin, not a tin, a little plate in the middle of the table for a couple of days, but it usually didn't last that long. People would use it. They would use it all and they'd replace it with another one. Yeah, you can freeze bread. If you've just cooked the bread, if you made it yourself, if it's homemade fresh bread, let it cool first before you freeze it. Let it solidify. Or if you just bought it at the store. Either way, make sure that they're in nice sealed airtight containers and you can freeze them for another 3 months or so. Bread's been kind of expensive here, so when I see it at a good deal, or like a 2 for whatever, or a 3 for 1 deal, I'll get them and freeze 2 of them. And you can thaw these in the fridge or in the microwave, typically. Should be fine to do so either way. Use the defrost or thawing setting on your microwave. Then we get to you, the chef, cooking in the kitchen. Class, we've talked about hand washing before. 1 in 3 people does not wash their hands after using the restroom. That's gross. Wash your hands. Don't be nasty. How do you wash your hands? Well, nobody taught you this before. Take 5 steps. You wet your hands first. You put soap on the hands and lather them well. You rub vigorously for 20 seconds. Then you rinse them completely, get all of the soap, all of the residue off your hands, and then you dry it either with a clean towel or just with air. But when should you wash your hands when cooking? Well, you should wash them before you start cooking and after you're done. Anytime you touch any kind of uncooked meat, anytime at all, wash them again the same way. Not just a quick rinse. Wash them the same way. If you're using gloves when you're cooking, wash your hands before and after you have put on and off the gloves. Don't get any bacteria or whatever in the glove by not washing your hands before you put them on. And don't try to reuse gloves, please. It's not worth saving the 5 cents they cost. And yes, Scratch, you always wash your hands when handling any kind of spicy things, your peppers. I don't have any recommendations or help for you for handling onions. You're just going to have to cry. Anytime you've touched any kind of waste product, stuff that you're throwing away, wash your hands again. If you pet the dog while you're cooking, wash your hands. Anytime you touch any pet stuff, after you're doing any kind of cleaning products, I like to clean while I cook, so I don't have to clean a whole bunch more when I'm done, you know? You wash your hands after you've done any kind of cleaning. And, you know, if you sneeze, you cough, you blow your nose, wash your hands. Don't have all that nasty stuff on your food. Thanks, Renault, a bot, for claiming the best viewers. Best wishes to you and your creator, whoever made you, bot. I hope that they, at some point, get a real job and stop scamming people on the internet. But yes, good washing, good hand washing. As we talked about when we talked about hand washing in the past, good hand washing reduces illness by up to 50%. Can prevent up to 30% of diarrhea-related illness, prevent up to 20% of colds. The use of proper hand washing drastically reduces the global reliance on antibiotics. And you're right, Wes, we already have the best viewers. We don't need them. We don't need the bot. Hand washing is a pretty big deal. I know it seems small, but it can drastically reduce our reliance on antibiotics, which is a big problem right now. In the kitchen, any utensils you use. Never use a utensil if you go from uncooked to cooked. Never touch anything with a utensil when it's uncooked and then touch something that is cooked. You see the little bacteria culture here? That happens pretty quick after you've touched something that is uncooked. Never go from uncooked to cooked. If you're using tongs or like a spatula to cook like ground beef, stirring it, once it gets cooked, change the utensil. Don't keep using that same utensil. And oh, it's another utensil I have to clean. Do it. Never put an uncooked food on a surface and then put a cooked food on it. For yourself, watch your hair, watch your beard. Mind your jewelry. You know, you wash your hands, you may not wash your jewelry beforehand. Might have germs on there, and if it touches the food, it's going to be transferred. We talk about the danger zone. What's the danger zone? Danger zone, highway to the danger zone. That is between the temperature where you would refrigerate something, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit and under, and below the temperature at which you're supposed to cook stuff, 135 degrees Fahrenheit, Fahrenheits. You don't want to leave any food that's supposed to be cold or that's supposed to be cooked hot between these temperatures for more than 2 hours. If it sits out at room temperature for 2 hours or more, you're going to be at pretty good risk of getting some kind of contaminant, foodborne pathogens. If you're trying to keep something hot for longer than that after you cooked it, you know, you're keeping it out on the table or counter, whatever, keep it warm, keep it at that 135 at minimum. If you do have to reheat it, get it back up to the temperature it's supposed to be at, that 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and get it to that temperature for at least 15 seconds within that 2 hour period. And you should never allow anything that's supposed to be refrigerated out in that room temperature danger zone for more than 2 hours. After you cook, when you're doing cleanup, don't use that same kitchen rag you've been using that whole time to do any kinds of the cleanup or to wipe your hands. You know, if you're just using one towel to wipe your hands down after whatever you've touched, it's going to be filthy, gross, nasty. When you're cleaning, you clean first and then sanitize. You wash the surface, get whatever bigger crumbs and dirt, whatever is on there first. Then you rinse it off. And then you sanitize. You use whatever cleaning products you're going to use, and your antibacterial cleaning products, your bleach or Lysol, whatever you're using. You do this to everything you've touched food with. Utensils, cutting boards and surfaces, the containers you've used, your sink, the table itself, you know, your fridge handles, your oven handle. Forget about that stuff. You grabbed that oven handle to open it. You grabbed the handle of your pan. That stuff's got all uncooked food contaminants all over it. If you do get sick, you feel like you've gotten some kind of foodborne illness, well, typically it's going to start within 2 to 6 hours after. It's not going to take very long. It's not going to take very long before you start feeling the effects. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps, you might have a fever. It happens pretty quick and it feels pretty bad. Typically it doesn't last more than 2 days or so. How do you deal with it though? What happens? If you are having trouble staying hydrated, drink some diluted juice. You don't want it to be too much. A lot of people love to drink vitamin C when they're sick, right? Any kind of sickness. But that can be pretty hard on your throat, your esophagus, all that, you know, really acidic, citrusy stuff. Tea is great, of course. Electrolyte sports drinks, good, good. For eating, when you do feel like you can eat, follow the brat diet. We're in our brat era. Follow your brat diet. It stands for bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. It's brat summer. And avoid any dairy, avoid any fried foods, spicy foods, really sugary stuff. Obviously don't drink. Don't drink alcohol when you're sick. You can only have the R in the tea. You can only have the rice and the toast. No bananas or applesauce. Well, we can get at least 2 of those. That's good. That's just if you are having trouble eating when you are feeling sick. What about lactose intolerance? Well, I mean, if you're already food poisoned, it's bad to have any dairy anyway. So if you're already lactose intolerant, yeah, don't. You have bad lactose intolerance, Scratchy. That sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hard to avoid dairy too because it's so ubiquitous in everything. And you have to look for things that are non-dairy or have non-dairy alternatives. Oh, fructose. Fructose intolerance. Sorry, I didn't read it right. Small text. Fructose intolerance. That sucks even more. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you can get some rice and toast down, that'll help. You do need to keep nutrients in. Obviously, you need to keep staying hydrated. How do you know if it's serious? How do you know if your foodborne illness is bad, if it's serious? Well, that fever, if it's above 102, if it's above 102 Fahrenheit, that's pretty serious. If you see any kind of blood in any of your waste, your urine, your vomit, your feces, that's serious. If you have diarrhea that lasts for more than a couple days, or if you can't keep those hydrating liquids down, If you feel severe pain, stomach pain, and definitely if you feel any kind of blurry vision or you can't urinate, if you can't get any liquids out, that's when it's serious. Scratchy, your usual sick meal is saltine crackers crushed in milk. That's a good one. The saltine crackers, that's a tried and true home remedy. Mine, of course, was in our family was saltine crackers and ginger ale. The ginger ale was probably not great. Like sodas are probably, again, they got that sort of acidic, kind of eats away at your throat and esophagus. The worst, I think, is when someone has a sore throat and they think, I'm going to drink some orange juice for the vitamin C. And then that orange juice, the citric acid, is just eating away at their already inflamed throat. Bad, bad stuff. Not good. But yeah, those are situations, blood in your waist, fever above 102 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to want to get some help with that. Not just home remedies. What about food allergies? As mentioned earlier, what about food allergies? The most common food allergies you're going to find are milk, of course, lactose intolerance. Some people are allergic to eggs or soy. A lot of nut allergies, whether it's peanuts or tree nuts like almonds, walnuts. Some fish people can be allergic to. Wheat, people who have gluten intolerance. And of course, shellfish, which is my food allergy. Cannot eat shellfish, crab, lobster, even shrimp. Gets me if I mean, I can have a couple of shrimp, but I do start to get red and thrushed. So I got to avoid it. You coat your throat with apple cider vinegar, Scratchy says. Helps with the sore throat strep. A lot of people do swear by apple cider vinegar for a lot of stuff. Must be something to it, because it does seem to be a very popular home remedy. But how are we dealing with our food allergies? Do all the things you would normally do. You keep all of your utensils and surfaces clean, but you also keep your ingredients separate. If you're using any of these, try to keep them separate from the other ingredients. Maybe you don't have any of these allergies, and that's fine. But if you're cooking for anyone else is going to be eating the food you're making, probably just nice to do if you're going to keep these things separate. Wash your hands regularly so you're not touching one of these and then touching one of your other ingredients. Check the labels. Sometimes it's not always obvious that there's an allergen in the food you're buying. If you have a food allergy, you probably know what the symptoms are. You'll get itchy, you'll have a rash. I get like a tingling in my face if I eat shellfish. Starts to itch, swells a bit. If you have a mild allergic reaction, probably just going to be an over-the-counter antihistamine that's necessary. But serious allergies, though, you're going to see things like difficulty breathing, throat will tighten up, blood pressure will drop, you might feel dizzy, you might even faint, fall unconscious. In which case, you're going to need an EpiPen if one is available for you or the person who is experiencing it. And then you're going to call 911 because that's not an issue that you can handle. You might see that the person has some kind of identification, like a wristband or a ID badge on their necklace that lets you know that they have a food allergy and what that allergy is. But here's how we use an EpiPen if you've never seen it before. It does look like a big old glue stick. Something like that. They're really easy to use. They're expensive because in America. But they're really easy to use. You just grab it, you firmly grasp it. Firmly grasp it. Pull off the tab. Hold it against the upper thigh on the outside, big meaty part of the thigh. Oof. The big meaty claws. Thanks, Scratchy. And you just push hard until you hear it click. So firmly grasp it, pull off the tab, push it against the thigh till you hear it click. Very easy to do, very simple. You don't have to be afraid of it, you don't have to worry about it. You don't need to be an expert, but you can help save someone's life if they're having an allergic reaction and they can't get their EpiPen used on themselves. Very simple stuff. A lot easier than insulin, yes indeed. You can save someone's life. But it's time to cook. It's time to cook, Walter. Meal 1. Now's the quiz portion. This is the question and answer portion. This is where you're going to answer the questions. This is the pop quiz part. Meal 1. We're going to make a meal. I need a main course, a side, and a dessert. I need you to tell me a main course, a side, and a dessert. What's this meal going to be? You can all answer. You can all make your suggestions. And I'll wait for a bit. Otherwise, I'll just give you some. We have steak. We have taters. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. And a chocolate pie. All right. Okay. That does sound pretty good. That's a solid meal. All right, for the steak. We're cooking steak. We're sizzling up that steak. Do you remember what temperature that steak has to get up to when we're cooking it? Assuming it's a beef steak. What temp do we got to get it to? Yes, indeed, Wes, you are correct. It is 145 degrees Fahrenheit. 145 Fahrenheit for a steak or roast type of beef. Taters for our side, our taters. How do we store taters? How and where do we store those taters? Where do we put the taters before we're cooking them? Scratchy says the dark dry land known as the cellar. That's a perfect place to keep them nice and dry and cool. Perfect. And that chocolate pie. Let's say that we have that's a frozen pie, because I didn't feel like cooking a pie from scratch. We got like a Marie Callender's. Whoa! Parker with a desk flip. Let's say we had the frozen pie. We take it out of the. How should we thaw that? It's got chocolate and dairy in it. Don't thaw it, eat it frozen. Well, I mean, in terms of safety, yeah, if you can get it down, then, I mean, it's at least going to be safe. Not going to have any bacteria alive in it if you eat it frozen. I wish I had some chocolate pie right now. Damn it. Sorry, swear jar. Wish I had some chocolate pie. Oh, and the only grocery store in our town is already closed. It's 9:30. I live in a very small town, and there's nothing here. There's one grocery store. Closes at 9:30. Yeah, thaw it in the fridge. Let it thaw slowly. Lastly, though, for those things, how are we gonna store them? How are we going to keep them? No, Scratch, you missed the 24-hour grocery stores? Yeah, I wish. Ours don't even stay open past 9:30. Oh, Turtle Pie hits great, too. Turtle Pie hits great. I do love a good bourbon pecan pie. I don't drink, but the bourbon pecan pies are great. Yeah, we're going to want to store those in nice sealed airtight containers in the fridge. And for the steak, we're not going to want to reheat it more than once. We want to eat it within a few days and reheat it to the same temperature it's supposed to be. Yeah, thanks for taking the bourbon off my hands, Scratchy. And yeah, if I could turn ads completely off, I would. I don't actually care about money here. It's more about teaching. But I have to have the ads run if I want to use the Twitch affiliate features like the channel rewards and stuff. I would just turn them off entirely if I could. Oof. I'm glad nobody is hitting me with the larger volumes of the spitballs and stuff. All right, one more. Meal 2. We need another meal, a different meal. It's the next day. We've eaten all the leftovers. What are we going to do? What are we going to have for a meal? Main course, side, and a dessert. I'll suggest the dessert, actually. We're going to have a yogurt parfait. We're going to have delicious yogurt parfait with some cherries in it and some granola on top. What about our main course and our side? Grilled salmon. That's a great main course. Yeah, we're gonna have like a little barbecue. We're gonna put some grilled salmon. We're gonna put some salmon on the grill. Cook it in some foil. Delicious living cultures. We're eating cultures, enemy. That's true. If we grillin', gotta get that corn. Grills that corn. Yeah, we're gonna put the salmon and corn on the grill. All right. Okay, so we're cooking that salmon. We're gonna cook that salmon. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen, Snowfox. Ooh, Pa suggests some curry. Ooh, been a while since I had some curry. Ohayou gozaimasu. German is just not a real language. Guten Morgen, just good morning. Yeah, okay, so fish. We bought the whole fish. We bought a whole fish and we're gonna prep it ourselves. How do we know that fish that we're buying, that salmon that we're buying, that it's good? What features should we be looking for on that fish when we're buying it? Oh yes, hello. Hello. Hello everyone. Nice char. Yeah, you want a nice char on it? When you cut it into that fillet, just ask the fish. Yeah, I mean, if you can ask the fish, then you know it's fresh. If it still can talk. Yeah, you want to cook it so it's completely opaque. You don't want it to be sort of transparent or any kind of sliminess. Wes, you're exactly right. You want to make sure the eyes aren't glazed over. And it should smell like fish, but it should not smell too bad. It shouldn't have that ammonia smell. Maybe want to swap to a tuna steak? That's good too. I like tuna. The weird thing is I don't like tuna salad. I don't like the packaged tuna salad or like other tuna products. I'd rather just have like cooked tuna. I can do a tuna roll though. Sushi roll. You like egg salad, Fox? I think it's just my natural aversion to mayo. I don't like mayo at all, which is strange because I love plain vanilla or plain unflavored Greek yogurt, which is just like a less sour sour cream. I don't like sour cream either. Should smell like fish, not like the ocean. That's a good saying, Enemy. I like that. Snowfox, you like egg salad. Scratchy, you like ham salad. My mom used to eat liverwurst mixed with like pimento loaf salad. Then again, her family's the kind that used to eat those like Jello foods, the weird 80s Jello foods. That would be like spam cooked in Jello. Ugh, the weird stuff. But yeah, so we want to make sure that the salmon is completely cooked, or the tuna. It's opaque, it's not translucent anywhere, that it sort of shreds. And for the corn, where did we keep the corn before we cooked it? Where had we been storing it before we took it out to grill? If we didn't just buy it off the like the food stand out in Iowa or anywhere in the Midwest. We kept it on the cob, yes. Where did we keep those corn cobs? Where did we get corn cobbed? Snow Fox, you say mayo is just primarily egg, so egg salad is just egg plus. Scratchy says that the corn on the cob is kept in a plastic bag on the table. That's a countertop when you say, okay, let's... Where do we see corn on the cob? Corn on the cob can be kept in the countertop if you're going to eat it right away, but you can put it on the, or in the refrigerator. You keep corn in your belly, Snow Fox. Well, I mean, it has to get there somehow. But we have our dessert still. We have our yogurt parfait. For the yogurt parfait, we took it out of the fridge. How early can we take it out of the fridge before we eat it? Like we're grilling and chilling. And we want to take the yogurt parfaits out of the fridge. Can we take them out at the same time we started grilling? How long can we leave it out at room temperature? This is meal 2. How long can that dairy product stay out there? Probably during the serving of the main course, Enemy says. Wes says 2 hours. Maybe that's too long. 2 hours would be too long. The thing says, the USDA says, yeah, 2 hours is too long. Snowfox, you say your grill cooks at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, so 37 seconds. Somehow I don't believe you. Somehow I don't believe you. It does have to be under 2 hours. No matter what it is that you're taking out of the fridge. You cook your steak on a kiln. So you're like forged in fire, but for grilling. And I just showed you the answer is under 2 hours. And the shorter, the better. And just for taste, you don't want it to be warm. Gross. And I just showed the slide. But yes, according to the U.S. Dairy Association, under 2 hours. Fortune fire with a pottery kiln. I just showed the slide, so you had a chance to look at it. You might have seen it. What is the danger zone? What is the temperature danger zone? What is the Kenny Loggins highway to the danger zone? – 3,000 degrees Celsius, Snowfox says. 300, I mean. 0 degrees Kelvin. Or it's not degrees when it's Kelvin, it's just 0 Kelvin. What is the danger zone for temperature? How many Amerifahrenheits is too warm or too cool? Yes, indeed, Wes. You got it. It is 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or technically 41, since the fridge should be at 40 or under. So 40 degrees Fahrenheit is the low. What is the high? Yeah, what does it start at? So yeah, 40 degrees Fahrenheit is where the danger zone begins. And where does the danger zone end? We've got 300 Fahrenheit, we've got 80. $65. Gosh, it was outside today. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit with 95% humidity. $130. Wes, you're the closest that we've gotten so far. The danger zone is 40 degrees Amerifahrenheit to 135 degrees Amerifahrenheit. That is the danger zone. Very good, very good, very good. We got at least the lower end. All right. These things were very basic. I didn't want to get into too much detail and overload you. So now is the time for any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, insults, criticism, rude hand gestures. Again, as usual, I never want to overload you with too much. I know this one went pretty quick. But for me, it's not so much if you remember too many details, it's whether you've learned any skills. Snowfox has a question. Absolutely, go ahead. Enemies say all your information is in memes. Not built for this. Built for cold pizza. I do love cold pizza. No, Fox, if I made you a grilled cheese, would you let me use my recipe even though it uses mayo? How much mayo? Because I love grilled cheese. And I have an air fryer, so I make grilled cheese in the air fryer, and it's delicious. Because I'll put a layer of cheddar, and then a layer of a white cheese, like a Munster, or mozzarella. Mozzarella's a little basic. Maybe a Munster, or a Jack, or pepper Jack. A little mayo might be okay. You don't use butter or oil. I like to melt the butter a little first and then like dip the bread like face down in it. Like I would be making almost French toast. Yeah, Munster and smoked Gouda scratchy. Sorry I made you hungry. Like I said, I wish I could get some chocolate pie right now, but nothing's open. Stupid small town. We don't even have any like fast food places. Like there's a Subway in the only like main gas station, and there's a McDonald's that is in the other gas station. There's nothing else. There's no Burger King, there's no Taco Bell, there's no Hardee's, there's no Wendy's. Nothing else. Nothing. No Snow Fox. You substitute butter or oil with mayo. I can see how that would work. I don't know. I don't know. What about good times? Nope. Nothing there. Absolutely nothing. I wish there was a Burger King. I know Burger King, like, people are like, oh, Burger King's gross. I like the flame grilled. Yep, no Walmart. We have a Dollar General. We have like a dollar store. But it's just a lot of farm fields. There's a golf course. Snow Fox say it browns super well. Maybe if it's cooked, it wouldn't taste so much like mayo. To me, ouch. It is. I wouldn't. It's not so much boonies. It's just like a town on a not a highway, like a big county road. That's it. Like a little town that formed around the road. And I live by a cemetery, so it's... Oh, hello, Sad Panda. Welcome. End of the line. Yes, yes, yes. We're just about to wrap up and get into Minecraft. Dented balls. Yes, yes, yes. Good Burger King is good. Yeah, some of them are really bad in terms of also the service. I've gotten a lot of bad service at Burger King's. I don't know, they just don't seem to care. The worst service I've ever gotten is at KFC. The European mind cannot comprehend this. Snow Fox says, statistically, the worse Popeye service is, the better the food. Some places it's like that, you know? Enemy likes Whataburger. Whataburger. Yeah, the only place I've been in the South... Well, I've been to Missouri, where I was... I had one station in the Army there, and then Texas. You managed at all three of these stores? They just... Oh, you had one of these, enemy? This building is basically what they call a diarrhea bomb. This picture shows Pepsi's failure. Cheese Boy! First time chatter, welcome to my classroom. Chicken, Chimkin. Arise, chicken. Chicken, arise. Welcome. Yeah, this is the diarrhea bomb. Is this because these all have Coca-Cola products? I know everywhere you go, you ask for like a Coca-Cola and they're like, oh, is Pepsi okay? I'm like, no. Yes, Cheese Boy, this is in fact my classroom. I am a teacher. I teach health, and I just gave a health lesson right here over the last hour or so on food safety. Allergies, proper meat preparation, what temperature should get up to, how to tell when your canned food has gone bad. Don't worry though, it will all be on our VODs channel after this. And we're not done because we'll be playing Minecraft right after this. We always have a little game after our lesson. Oh, enemy. They bought the entire fast food chains rather than compete with Coke. Yeah, I prefer Coke to Pepsi. I don't drink a lot of soda, but I do prefer Coke to Pepsi. It just feels like it's got more bite. Pepsi is like a sweeter cola. But I'm more of a sharp soda type of guy. Dr. Pepper. Yeah, exactly. Of course you prefer Pepsi, Snow Fox. Of course you do. I've never put peanuts in my Coca-Cola. That's a southern thing, I'm sure, right? Oh, yeah. What's all your favorite root beers? What's your favorite root beer? Oh, and by the way, congratulations, all of you who have been here. You've completed our course on food safety. You've completed Mr. Aejis' food safety class. Congratulations. If you want your certificate with your name on it, feel free to join the Discord, and I will make one for you. You can join the Discord right there. And if you did miss this or any of our other previous lessons, you can go to our VODs channel. And if you enjoyed this lesson, if you learned a little something, if you want to be a part of our learning community and see more of our lessons and game content, you can follow the links on the screen now to see our playlist of lessons and our full list of prior streams. And of course, you should click the subscribe button and the bell below so you can follow the channel and be notified when we're live. And check us out at twitch.tv/Mr. Aejis, where you can play along with us. Class dismissed.